Hey guys, it's Kingdom Orange 2 here, and welcome back to my channel. With the relaunch of Monster High officially coming out just around the corner, I thought it would be fun to look back at a time 10 years ago when MGA Entertainment tried to capitalize off Mattel's success and launch their own doll line called Bratzillaz. Though a relatively short-lived doll line, for today's video I want to discuss the history of Bratzillaz as a whole, talk about its webisodes and dolls, and explain to you some of the ways in which I think the doll line could have been better. Now, like always, before I go on, feel free to check out my Instagram and TikTok pages. It's the same username for both, and I love meeting new people and connecting with all of you. So, without further ado, let's talk about the witchy cousins of the Bratz. Bratzillaz. Dolls. Each Bratzillaz doll stood about 12 inches tall and came with a stand, broom-shaped hairbrush, and a spell scroll. The dolls were also articulated and had a witch symbol tattooed on their arms. Initially launched in the line were 5 characters, each with their own unique powers. Cloetta Spelletta could transform, Jade Shador could heal a broken heart, Sasha Bella Paws could talk to animals, Yasmina Clairvoya could see into the future, and Megana Broomstick could fly. Every character also had their own pet who matched their magical powers. While originally sold separately in countries like the United States, the dolls were later repackaged, including them in specific countries like the United Kingdom. But interestingly enough, I stumbled across pictures on the Bratzillaz wiki of a discounted version of the main line with the dolls missing their hats and accessories. If you ask me, I personally liked the overall look of the dolls, but was annoyed with minor things about them. First, their hair quality was just atrocious. I'm not exactly sure what it was made out of, potentially nylon or probably propylene, but it was really prone to frizzing up and you could never brush it. Also, while their articulation wasn't bad, their legs were really wobbly and the dolls would always look so awkward on their doll stands. Bratzillaz was also recognized by its interesting artwork. While Bratz has suffered from some hideous artwork styles throughout its run, I don't know why they decided this to be the final artistic style for Bratzillaz. Not only is it ugly, but I don't understand why the girls' outfits are in color but their skin and hair is black and white. Also, the girls are also posed in ways that make them look like they're suffering from back problems. Alongside the release of the initial dolls, Bratzillaz debuted their music video. Now, the music video was no multi-million-dollar production, and while this song isn't really that catchy, I appreciate that they made the girls look exactly like the dolls, unlike the Monster High music video or even the Ever After High one. The cartoon. Bratzillaz launched their own series of webisodes on August 15th, 2012. Each episode was around 3 minutes long and followed the girls who attended a school of witchcraft called Bratzillaz Academy. The show mostly focused on the girls trying to navigate their new powers while sometimes finding themselves in sticky situations. The cartoon, though, only ran for 9 episodes before it ended on January 4th, 2013. Later in that year, Bratzillaz released 5 more webisodes in a series they called Witchy Princess's Adventure. What was different about these episodes, though, was that the story was told with dialogue being written on a scribe of paper, rather than being acted out through characters. The storyline of these webisodes also focused on the main 5 Bratzillaz girls trying to find out what happened to the missing witchy princess students. Now here's the thing. The webisodes were cute, but the plot wasn't that interesting. And I know what people will say, well, Alex, these webisodes are meant for kids and as a way to sell more dolls, but I ask you to think about 2 things. The first is that cartoons can bring in a lot of money themselves. Monster High wasn't just popular because people loved the dolls. The plot and characters were also very well developed, which made people in turn want to buy the DVDs. Another thing is that the plot line of Bratzillaz has so much potential. With magic and witches, there are really so many ways you can go, and Bratzillaz didn't really delve deep into that. We got webisodes that focused on the girls using potions to make purses, and them trying to avoid the Tula twins, who I guess were supposed to be the Bratzillaz version of Kirsty and Casey. But if Bratzillaz had an amazing plot, who says it couldn't have been the next Winx Club? And one more point I want to make before we go on, I am not a huge fan of the way the animation looks. I think the animators did a great job on creating the overall look of the Bratzillaz Academy, but the designs for the characters isn't really that cute. The girls are really weirdly shaped, their movement is stiff, and the way some of the girls' hair looks bothers me. Also, Yasmina has one of the worst British accents I have ever heard.
Now, how did I know you were going to say that?
The rise and fall. A little after the launch of the basic line, Bratzillaz released the Midnight Beach and Magic Night Out dolls. Both doll lines had somewhat of a gimmick to them. The Midnight Beach dolls were able to glow in the dark, while the Magic Night Out dolls had articulation in their waist, which when you twisted it, made the dolls look like they were dancing. Both lines also featured 2 new characters, Vambolina, who had the power to see in the dark, and apparently was a witch and a vampire, which the new Draculaura could only dream of being like, as well as Fiona Finns, who had the power to control the weather. Bratzillaz also released its first budget line, which was essentially a redesign of their basic line, except the dolls were sold at a lower price point and had little to no articulation, and paint on instead of glass eyes. They also came out with Switch-A-Witch, a doll line where you can mix and match your dolls' bodies, outfits, and wigs. Now obviously this was a copy of the Create a Monster line from Monster High, but what fans appreciated about Bratzillaz more is that the Monster High dolls only came with one body, one pair of shoes, and one wig, which meant you could only build one doll at a time, while the Bratzillaz version came with 2 wigs, 2 shoes, and 2 torsos. Later in 2013, Bratzillaz changed its logo to include the phrase House of Witches, and in its US versions of the new doll commercials, never once mentions the word Bratzillaz. 2 more doll lines were produced. Back to Magic, which included the new characters Victoria Antique, who could make old things new, and Ileana Honesty, who could make anyone tell the truth, as well as Witchy Princesses, which was made up of 3 characters: Angelica Sound, who could manipulate sound, Sierra Calmer, who could calm others, and Carolina Past, who could see into the past. Bratzillaz also slightly adjusted their artwork. It was the same hideous style as before, but now the characters had colored hair and skin. I also just want to take a moment here and talk about how dumb I thought each of the characters' powers are. I mean, out of all the magical abilities the creators could have thought of, they decided to go with the power to make people calm and another being able to fix broken hearts. Not only are these powers mostly useless, but why not go for more obvious ones like being able to control fire, water, earth, or air, or having the ability to teleport. And just like that, the line was poof, cancelled. No word or anything. Bratzillaz just ceased to exist. Now on Wikipedia, it says that due to the hiatus that MGA took in 2014 to rebuild the Bratz brand, production of Bratzillaz dolls ended and they were silently discontinued. But when I went to click on the link provided, the website was password protected. Now one thing we do know, however, is that Bratzillaz was going to release another doll line called Witchy Band, which featured Cloetta, Yasmina, and Megana dressed as rock stars. But due to MGA's horrible track record of having their prototypes look way better than their dolls do, I don't think these dolls would have looked as awesome in person as they do here. In hindsight, MGA was constantly failing with reviving the Bratz until they realized the only way for the dolls to be successful was to just give people what they wanted, mixing old Bratz nostalgia in with today's trends. And I think that Bratzillaz also proves that a lot of times when these doll companies try to copy each other, it just doesn't work. They have to be distinct enough to be really enjoyed and loved by fans. And I would argue that Bratzillaz was all these things, but the execution of many aspects of the doll line just weren't good enough to compete with Monster High and its sister doll line Ever After High. Now feel free to tell me what your thoughts and memories of Bratzillaz were in the comments down below. If you liked this video today and want to see more content in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and I will see you soon. Bye!